I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming and joining us today. I'm going to go through a brief little list of what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to be covering mobility and flexibility. A couple things you may want to grab real quick if you have them accessible. You can use either a broom handle, a golf club, long golf club will work. If you have an exercise band, you can use this, or one of your physical therapy type bands. Either one of them will work. If you have dumbbells, really lightweight, I would suggest absolutely no more than 5 pounds for what we're going to be doing today. But preferably 3, or even just a water bottle would be fine. A chair would come in handy, a pillow just in case. And I'm also going to throw in, if you have one of these accessible to you, an exercise ball. It really doesn't matter how large, as long as you feel comfortable getting down on it, sitting on it, or if you feel comfortable, one of the exercises we're going to do, we're actually going to lay on the ball. So you don't absolutely need one, but it might add a different element for some of you to really enjoy and make it easier for you to go through some of the exercises. So again, like I was saying, what I'm going to cover today is mobility and flexibility. And first I want to make a very good point to describe what I mean by mobility and flexibility. So they sound similar, and in some regards they mean some similar things, but when I mean mobility, I generally want to discuss the range of motion we have at a joint. So different joint examples, you can see the shoulders, the hips, ankles, the spinal column. The entire backbone is a bunch of joints that we need to make sure we try to increase our range of motion. You can discuss range of motion even at the wrists for some folks. And flexibility, primarily going to target things like that's the flexibility or stretching ability of a muscle group, or multiple muscle groups in some cases. So things like the calves, the hamstrings, the lower back, the hips. Now the hips can be a combination of things. The hamstrings could be involved in the hip flexibility, but also we could be thinking about like the psoas, the hip flexors themselves. We might think of our inner thighs as another muscle group that we want to target. The piriformis muscle, which is one of those big ones that I talk about quite often and I'm going to be targeting today. It's a very common muscle that tends to be either weak or very tight that I like to target a lot because it's very closely associated with a lot of leg, lower back, and hip pain specifically. So what I'm going to do today, since I've gone through all of those, I'm going to kind of work those in a progressive motion. I'm going to start with the mobility, warming up. We're going to get the whole body nice and warm. I've mentioned before, you can do mobility and flexibility training whenever you'd like. Primarily, we would like people to do those after a good warm up, or even at the end of a regular workout session or a cardio session. You can do it at the end of your strength training session. It's not stuff that you want to do at a high intensity. This is, again, moderate intensity stuff that we want to do, but they're more targeted for those joints for the mobility and targeted for those muscle groups for the flexibility. So I'm going to go through a brief warm up of all the major muscle groups of the body, full body work up or warm up, if you will, and then we'll transition into the actual exercises themselves. So to begin with, I'm going to start with kind of just getting the whole body involved in things. Standing up, you can do this with a chair. You can do this with just body weight if you want to, or your counter even. We're just going to start with calf raises, okay? Just going up on point on our toes, just getting those muscles activated. Up and squeeze. Not really in a big hurry here. Just going up, getting those calves nice and warm. And I'm just going to go for a set of 10 here, 10 calf raises. 2 more. Last one. And relax. Now I'm going to work into the thighs and the hamstrings, the glutes, get some of the core involved, going into body weight squats. Again, you can do this holding onto the chair if you prefer. I'm going to do them just body weight facing the camera here. Taking my time, going down nice and slowly. Try to feel all the muscle groups activating as I go through it. Using my hands as a counterbalance. Remember, even in this warm-up, it's important to think about breathing. I want to exhale on the hard part. So in, out. There we go. Just a couple more. Notice how my knees are staying outside around the shoulders, not going in, forcing them out. One more. And recover. All right. Now we're going to get those shoulders nice and warm. We're just going to take our arms out the side and do nice smooth arm circles. Just slowly start to make those circles a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Again, from the side, you'll see them just nice range of motion. You ought to feel your chest open up as you reach back. And you can work them overhead. And then we're going to reverse, starting nice and small. And slowly making them a little bit bigger. Again, we're not in a hurry. Just want to feel a good range of motion. All right, one last thing, roll that neck. And reverse. And recover. All right, go ahead and grab either your broom handle or one of your exercise bands. I'm going to use the bands for myself here. Most of you can do this either standing up. I'm going to do it on the floor here so that everybody can see me. And what we're going to be doing with your band, you want to start with as wide of a grip as you can get, okay? If you have a broom handle, again, works the same way. We're going to be working on getting a good range of motion, all right? And I'm going to try to demonstrate this facing the camera as well as facing to the side so that you can get a couple viewpoints of where I'm trying to move, okay? And what we're going to be doing is really just getting everything nice and loose. Again, the reason what the band is going to do, it's not really there to add any kind of resistance for us. It's just kind of to tether the two hands together. A lot of people will notice that they have some sort of discrepancy from one shoulder versus the other. They might be able to raise one arm higher than the other. And what grabbing the pole will do or using a band is it kind of tethers them together so that if you get to a little bit of a sticking point, it can kind of assist, one shoulder can kind of assist the other in going through the exercise, more in a passive motion versus a full-on contractual motion, okay? So what we're going to be doing is just trying to work nice and smoothly, wide, over the top, and as far back as you can. Now, some people might be able to go all the way, okay? And if you're one of those, great. You know, take your time, working it forward. If you can't go all the way back and all you can do is get to here, then that's fine. Just try to work it all the way back as far as you feel comfortable and then relax back down, okay? Going for a set of 10 here. You can do either a set of 10 or you can do timed sessions. You can do 30-second for a set. Me personally, I much prefer doing more of a time type of session because it keeps me at a smooth and easy pace rather than working towards my fatigue level. Okay, you ought to feel that chest open up, feel those shoulders rolling, reach forward. Okay, you'll notice, see how I reach my shoulders forward, opening up the chest. Now, if you're using the pole and you've got a little bit, it's too easy, you can bring your hands in a little bit more, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult. Again, this isn't supposed to be super high intensity. It's supposed to be moderate, you know, light to moderate intensity exercise. Last one. Nice and smooth. And relax. All right, shake out those shoulders. You might do a couple nice little shoulder rolls as well. Try to relax. We're going to take that band or that pole again. This time, if you want to do it again, you can do the standing up if you want. And I'll demonstrate. You can just kind of reach over towards the side. Okay. Nice and smooth. Feeling your side stretch out. You don't have to hold the band if you don't want. You can do this just standing here, reaching over. Again, you want to feel that nice and easy stretch. You're using the pole, works the same way. Demonstrate where everyone can see me, just reaching it over. Again, remember, when we talk about mobility, we're talking about movement, a range of motion at a joint. So we're working on the shoulders, but we can't forget the entire spine, all the way from the back of the head to the tailbone. All of it are little bitty joints that we need to make sure we work in as well. So that lateral flexion there really increases the mobility at each of those joints, okay? All right. Next one, we're going to take the pole and put it behind us. This one is, again, another one you can do standing up, or I'm on my knees so that everybody can see me in the camera here. Nice deep breath, and then we're just going back. Just reaching back. Really engaging those rear delts, lats, getting some of our other shoulder muscles activated, rotator cuff. Nice and smooth. Nice full contraction. Couple more. And relax. All right. Now, if you have your bottles of water, or you can use your dumbbells, again, you don't even need either one of these. You can just do arm weight if you want, okay? Just either do flat hands, ball up your fist or something. I'm going to use the weights for demonstration. We're going to tuck those elbows in towards our side. A little closer here. I'm going to tuck them in close to our side, okay? And then we're just going to open up our chest a little bit. Now, we don't want to make the mistake of letting our elbows pick up. Keep them nice and tight, okay? We're just going to open it up a little bit. Nice and smooth. You ought to feel your back kind of squeeze together. Keeping those elbows at 90 degrees. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right. This next one, all right, I'm going to put down one water bottle or one weight. Just use a single weight. And this is going to be more of a shoulder rotator cuff type of exercise. And the goal with this is to do our best to not drop the weight, but let the arm become as relaxed as possible, okay? I'm gonna use a chair to assist me here. It's gonna keep me from, engaging too much of my back, and it's gonna help protect it. But what I'm gonna do, kind of stagger my stance a little bit and keep my back flat so I can protect it. Holding the weight in my hand, I'm gonna try to relax my shoulder as much as possible, okay? I wanna feel gravity pulling that weight down towards the floor, all right? Don't push it towards the floor, let gravity do the work for you, okay? And we're just gonna start with nice, smooth, easy, relaxed arm circles. Okay, starting nice and small. Feel that shoulder get heavier and heavier. And we're just gonna slowly kind of make those circles a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Kind of swinging around in a circle like a pendulum. And slow it down just a little bit, come under control, and go in reverse. Again, trying to relax the shoulder without dropping the weight. And slowing it down and relax. All right. Now we're going to switch arms and go to the other side. Again, protect the back. I like to stagger my stance a little bit. Nice, smooth arm circles. Let that arm relax. Feel the shoulder pull. Feel that weight sink towards the floor. Again, be careful if you're holding the weight, don't let it drop on your toe. And slowing it down and reverse. And slow it down and relax. All right. The next one we're going to do, I'm going to demonstrate on the floor so that we can see the visualization here. We're going to go to the field goal, okay? We're going to put our arms up. You don't need weights for this one. Arm weight is just fine. I like to do the arms straight up, 90 degree at the elbow, out to the side. And we're just going to work on a range of motion, rotating down and rotating up and back. Going down and up and back. Now again, you might notice that there's a difference from one arm to the other, which is fine. Don't force it, all right? Don't try to make it do something it doesn't want to do. Go to the point that you feel comfortable and then reverse. All right. Again, nice and slow. This exercise is not to be done really quickly. None of these are. We want to be as relaxed as possible. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, shake them out. All right, next, we're going to move on down the body, okay? We've started at the shoulders. We've worked a little bit of the spine, but we're going to target the spine a little bit more here, okay? So what I'm going to do is show 2 different ways that we can stretch this, all right? So for the spine, if you have your exercise ball, you can go ahead and grab it. What we're going to do is we're just going to, I like to use a pillow, maybe get on my knees on the pillow to help protect me. You can do this on the edge of your bed or with a rolled up, a big rolled up blanket with a couple pillows perhaps. That does well. You can also use the chair if it's comfortable. It's a little bit more difficult, but if you have a ball, what you can do is just kind of roll your chest over the ball. Okay, and I'll demonstrate from the side so that you can see. Get it nice and close to me and then kind of roll forward, okay? And what you're gonna do with your hands is you're gonna kind of do the itsy bitsy spider and kind of walk them along the floor. Go as far as you feel you can before you really start to pick up your feet or your knees off the floor if that's where you started. Just keep walking those arms out. You ought to feel traction start to pull your spine. And you find that point where it gets a little bit tight and you just kind of relax. Just kind of hold it right there. And then slowly walk it back. I'm going to demonstrate this one more time with the chair for those of you who don't have an exercise ball. Like I said, this one's a little bit more difficult, but if you have a chair, what you can do, same thing, you kind of get as close to it as possible, laying your chest over the chair. And same way, you're going to kind of walk your hands out and slowly lift your knees off the floor. Once you get your knees just off the floor and you're reaching out as far as you can, you're going to find a way to just try to relax and kind of sink into the chair. Your knees may slide back down towards the floor, but in order to do that, it should be drawing traction on your spine. Nice, slow, deep breaths. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and walk it back. Use your arms to help push you up to make sure you don't engage too quickly on the spine. All right. For this next one, I'm going to have to readjust the camera so that you can see. This next one, we're going to move a little bit further down and start targeting the thoracic spine. So we're going to be targeting more in the middle area, okay? And sometimes you might feel it even a little bit lower. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to face away from the camera here, but you can do this in bed or you can do this on the floor, whichever one you feel comfortable doing. I'm going to do it right here on the floor. It's carpeted. It might not be very comfortable to do on a hardwood floor by any means. We want to make sure, again, you can do this in the comfort of your bed on top of the covers, okay? So we're just going to lay on our back. And we're going to take our palms straight down, okay? Arms out to our side, palms face down. We're going to extend both legs straight out. Raising one leg, we're going to let gravity kind of cross our body and rotate, okay? If it's too intense, you can kind of bend your knee a little bit to help. The further out you extend it, the more torque you're going to feel on your spine. We're just going to let gravity pull it over. Now, some of you might be a little bit tight and you can only get your leg this far. You can't quite get that foot down, which is fine. Just let it relax and stay right there. Deep breath and exhale. You may notice as you exhale, you can get a little bit further and a little bit further. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ease it back up and down, switching sides. Deep breath and exhale. You can kind of see even I have a little bit of discrepancy between one side and the other, which is, it's normal. It's natural for people to have a difference from one side to the next, but it highlights an area that I might need to work on or target more specifically. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it up nice and slow and back down. All right, for this next one, you can stay on the floor, but I'm just going to quickly demonstrate this one. This is another one that we can do either laying on the floor or we can do it sitting in a chair. Take your pick. I prefer to do this next one as I'm still laying on the floor. Kind of get to do several all at one time before I have to move again. So I'm going to demonstrate it in that position, but I can also demonstrate it in the chair for everyone else, okay? So laying flat on our back again. We're going to bring both of our knees up towards our chest. We're going to wrap our arms around our knees as much as we can, really reaching, okay? If you can grasp your hands, that's great. That can really help. Our goal is to try to use our arms to pull our knees and stretch our lower back without really pulling up with our core or with our hip flexors. So we're just going to reach around and kind of just use our arms to pull the legs towards you. Now, I know this can be uncomfortable for some people, which is understandable. If you don't feel comfortable doing this one, that's perfectly fine. I'll show you how to stretch it later. We can work on the same area, just in a different way. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, one real quick demonstration using the chair. For those of you who don't feel comfortable doing it on the floor, we can do the same exercise, the same stretch, sitting towards the front of your chair, feet nice and wide. We're just going to take our hands on our knees and we're just going to slide them down, okay? We're just going to slide them down and use our hands, if we can put them flat on the floor, to kind of give us a little bit of support. And we're just going to let our chest sink towards the floor. This ought to stretch the same part of the lower back, okay? I'm not going to spend too much time doing it right here, but just to demonstrate it real quick again, for those of you that don't have the ability to get in the floor or feel comfortable doing that, we can stretch the lower back by letting our hands come down between our chest, sinking between our knees. And you should feel this nice and good stretch right through the thoracic and lower part of our spine. And relax. All right. Next, we're going to move into more of the hip mobility. Now, this one's a little bit more difficult. For some people, I'm going to readjust my camera here. We're going to use a chair. So we can do this either standing in one place, using something to stabilize us, using a chair, or you can do this on your own, just kind of standing. It's up to the individual, whatever you prefer. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate using the chair. We're going to stand here facing nice and tall, facing our chair. We're going to raise our knee up, and then we're just going to open up the knee and kind of point it out towards the side. and then bring it back towards the middle and down. From another view, up, out, in, and down. Okay? We can alternate sides when we do this as well. So if you're standing up, you can go up, out, in, and down. It gets a little bit more difficult when we try to balance ourselves. That's why I like to hold on to something when I do this exercise. Some people might try to do one large circular motion, okay? Kind of just open it up, making a circle. Whatever you feel comfortable doing. Some people prefer the kind of slow, methodical, controlled movements, okay? Make sure we get both sides. And notice when I open up the hips and open that knee, I'm not rotating my chest as I do it. I'm keeping my chest straight forward. And relax. All right. Now with the chair. Let me adjust. We're going to get the piriformis muscle, which I've talked about before. Again, it's a muscle I find is a very common tight or weak muscle sometimes even. If it's tight, what happens with that muscle is it kind of presses on your sciatic nerve. So it's honestly one of the most common causes of sciatica. So if you are one of those people that have knee pain that maybe shoots down your legs, or if it starts in your lower back, you feel it kind of shooting through the hips, quite often you'll feel it go down your thighs and in towards your knees. We're going to really target this muscle, okay? By crossing our leg over and rotating that knee flat, what we're going to end up doing is kind of placing that muscle in the primary spot to where if we start to pull our chest, either pull that knee up towards our chest or sink our knee towards it in the opposite direction, you're going to start to stretch that muscle. So we're taking a deep breath. You can do this one of two ways. You can either pull it up towards you, or you can sink your chest down over it, okay? Deep breath, exhale. And let that chest kind of just sink over that leg. Now, if you can't cross your legs, all you can do is get the one knee up, that's fine. I like to take my arm and kind of wrap it up underneath. And then you can kind of pull with your opposite hand to kind of assist you. It's not as effective, but it does work. Five, four, three, two, and one. Switching sides. Deep breath and sink that chest forward. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you're somebody that really suffers from sciatica on a frequent basis, this is an exercise that you might want to do. You can do this lying in your bed even. Again, another one of those exercises you can do laying in bed. You just lay flat on your back. To quickly demonstrate one quick time. You could do this just by laying on your back and using your opposite leg to kind of assist. That other knee can kind of help assist, stretch that piriformis muscle out, okay? All right. Now, so we've warmed up the hip flexors, we've warmed up the glutes, we've warmed up the piriformis, we've stretched a lot of those out. Now we're going to stretch that hip flexor out as well, okay? So sitting on the edge of your chair, I've done this one before. You're going to take your toe, reach it out as far as you can, stick it in the ground, and then you're going to use it as a lever to just kind of pull that hip flexor open, okay? Notice my chest is staying up. You ought to feel it stretch here all the way down your quads maybe. I use my hand on the back side of my hip to kind of help give me just a little extra push and a last little stretch. And relax. Switching sides. Same thing, sitting nice and tall, kind of on one hip. Reach that foot back. And lever it back. Open up that hip flexor. And relax. All right, moving down further. Now we're going to get to stretching out those calves, and we're going to work on some ankle mobility as well. Now this is one that having a pillow, again, might be a little bit beneficial. I'm going to readjust one more time here. Having a pillow close by can really help. If you have a weight, I wouldn't use a bottle of water because you're going to probably squish something out. Now, if it's a frozen bottle, that might be able to work, but if it's not frozen, I would suggest not using it because it'll make a mess. Okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to work on that ankle mobility, okay? And what I mean by mobility, and got to kind of describe some of the anatomy that goes on here. The calf muscle, a lot of us think about this big, meaty part at the top. And while that's important, what we got to make sure we don't neglect is that other muscle that rides just underneath it, where our Achilles kind of rides over the top. That's the soleus muscle, okay? And oftentimes what we'll see is there's a weak soleus relative to the big, strong gastrocnemius that's on top, okay? And when we have difficulty with range of motion in our ankles or a lack of mobility, often what it is that muscle underneath is really, really tight. So what we're going to do with this exercise is we're going to just really force a little bit to, again, not super high intensity. We're just going to kind of force a little bit of range of motion into stretching out that soleus muscle, okay? So I like to take a weight, place my toes up on it, and then I'm on my knee here. I'm just going to kind of sink my hips forward while keeping my heel on the floor, okay? Now, some of you might not even need the weight. You might be able to do this exercise without it, okay? I find that just because of the dorsiflexion that it forces, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of really drive that knee forward, okay? If you want, you can push a little bit more weight into your knee. And again, you ought to feel this really low on that bottom part of our foreleg. And relax. Switching sides. And rocking forward. Again, notice how my heel is still on the floor, okay? I'm not feeling this up here in the calf. As a matter of fact, the big meaty part of the calf is kind of relaxed. I can just kind of squeeze it and move it around. It's really relaxed. But where I'm feeling it is down here in the lower part, closer towards that ankle. and relax. All right, now we're going to stretch that meaty part of the calf, the gastrocnemius, and we're going to get some of that hamstring in as well. Okay, and this is a stretch that we do quite a bit here in Weekend. Again, you can either use a wall that you don't mind getting footprints on. You can use a chair like I'm using here. You can use a dumbbell. Okay, some people like to just put their toe on it and we'll move forward. You'll notice how my leg is straight. Okay, I've locked that knee out, and what that's going to do is pull that hamstring tight and allow me to engage that gastrocnemius on top. Again, some people prefer using just their toe on a chair and kind of sinking their hips forward. And relax. Last one, switching sides. And relax. All right. So that's not all I had for everybody today. Again, that was mobility and flexibility. Remember, mobility is our range of motion at our joints, which shoulders, wrists even. I didn't go through that stretch, but you can stretch your forearm muscles to really increase the range of motion there at the wrists. But shoulders, the entire spine, the hip complex, and the ankles are big areas that we want to work on. And flexibility is that stretching of the muscle. They kind of are targeted at the same time for most aspects, but there is a distinct difference, and we can kind of do all things at once and take care of everything. So hope everyone enjoyed that lesson, and open up the floor for any questions.